Most kids remember their 14th birthday because of cake or a new phone. I remember mine because that was the first time Aunt Lisa showed me the notification on her phone. Earnings from our family's hidden truths. $187. She smiled and said, "Look, princess, you just funded your own celebration." That was when I realized family love had turned into something I couldn't name. Something darker. Something that had a price tag attached to it. My name is Sarah Collins. I'm 22 years old now. I work as a trauma counselor in Portland, Oregon, helping other survivors find their voice. But for 14 years of my life, I lived in a family where trust was a currency, where loyalty became a weapon, where the people who were supposed to protect me discovered they could profit from my silence instead. This is my story. This is about betrayal that runs deeper than anger. This is about a family that chose lies over love, and how I finally chose myself over their narrative. My family looked perfect from the outside, the kind of family that made other people envious. My parents, Susan and David Collins, seemed to have it all figured out. Dad worked in finance, came home for dinner, coached my soccer team one season. Mom was the volunteer type. She organized church events, knew all my teachers' names, attended every recital. We lived in a 4-bedroom house in suburban Colorado that looked like it came straight from a magazine. My younger sister Emma was 8 years younger, which made me the responsible one, the example setter. We had family dinners where we actually talked. We went to church every Sunday without fail. My parents had friends over for outdoor meals in the summer. From every angle, we were the picture-perfect American family, the kind you see in advertisements, the kind people point to and say, "That's what I want my family to look like." Except that behind closed doors, something was growing in the shadows, something nobody talked about, something that everyone pretended didn't exist, even though it was poisoning everything it touched. My mother's brother married a woman named Aunt Lisa. She had 4 adult sons from a previous relationship. My uncles, technically, though they were much older than me. Ricky was 28 when I was born. James was 26. Aaron was 24. Tyler was 22. We called them cousins because that felt more comfortable, less formal, less like acknowledging what they would eventually become to me. They'd all grown up in a house where their mother, my Aunt Lisa, worked at a bank and their stepfather handled finances. On paper, they seemed successful. They seemed like they had their lives together. They had jobs, or they said they did. They had apartments, or they stayed with family members. They seemed normal. They seemed like regular guys you'd meet anywhere. In reality, they were broke, addicted to gambling, constantly looking for shortcuts to easy money. They wanted wealth without work. They wanted success without effort. They wanted everything without having to earn it or sacrifice for it. In reality, they were predators who learned early that family ties could be exploited in ways that nobody would speak about out loud. But I didn't know that yet. I was a child. I didn't know how to recognize the warning signs. I didn't know that the first time someone crosses a boundary, it teaches them they can do it again and again, until crossing that line becomes the family business. The first time I noticed something wasn't right, I was 11 years old. Ricky was visiting our house, staying in the guest room while he sorted out his life. My mom mentioned he was going through a rough patch. Divorced, some legal issues she didn't elaborate on. Money problems that weren't my business to worry about. My parents did what they always did in situations like this. They opened their home, they offered help without hesitation. They believed in second chances. They believed that family should help family no matter what the circumstances were. That generosity would be weaponized against me. Ricky took advantage of their goodness to gain access to me. He positioned himself as the helpful family member. He fixed things around the house without being asked. He helped my dad with projects. He was polite. He was clune. He didn't cause problems. He was the perfect house guest. He was the kind of person you wanted around because he made everything feel lighter and easier. One afternoon, Ricky offered to take me to get ice cream, just the two of us. My mom thought it was sweet. She thought he was being a good older cousin, taking an interest in me, trying to be a positive male role model. My dad seemed pleased too. Family bonding, he called it. That's how it starts. That's what people don't understand about predatory behavior. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wear a sign. It positions itself as helpful, as generous, as someone who finally understands you better than anyone else. It earns trust carefully, methodically, like it's following a playbook written specifically for this moment in time. At the ice cream shop, he put his hand on my lower back. Not obviously inappropriate. Just a hand on my back while we walked. He told me I was pretty. He asked if anyone was bothering me at school. He wanted to know if my parents really understood me. He was attentive. He was interested. He made me feel seen in a way that felt good, that felt important. That's the beginning of what therapists call grooming. It's not violent at first. It's not what people expect when they think about danger. It's wrapped up in seeming affection. It feels like someone finally understands you. It feels like love. It feels like the attention you've been hungry for. By the time I was 12, Ricky would find reasons to be at our house. He'd help my dad with yard work. He'd offer to pick me up from school. My parents appreciated having him around. My dad especially seemed happy to have this older male figure in our lives. There's something about men that makes them want other men around. I understand that better now. My dad was probably happy to have a male family member who seemed interested in our family and in me. When Ricky asked if I could spend the night at Aunt Lisa's house one weekend, my parents said yes without hesitation. Why wouldn't they? They were family. They were blood. They were someone we were supposed to trust with our lives and with our children. They seemed safe. That's where they made their mistake. That's where their trust in family became dangerous. That's where their belief that family always has your best interests became a liability instead of a strength. I was 12 years old the first time something happened that I couldn't explain away or rationalize. I was staying in the guest room at Aunt Lisa's house, a Friday night in the spring. I remember what I was wearing. I remember what the room smelled like. I remember hearing cars passing outside on the street. He came in at 2 in the morning. I know it was 2 because I saw the clock change when he opened the door. I pretended to be asleep. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have a framework for understanding what was about to happen. My body knew something was wrong before my mind could process it. My heart started racing. My hands went cold. What happened next was a violation of everything I thought family meant. It was a betrayal of every promise that's supposed to come with being born into a family. When he left, I lay there in the dark and convinced myself it hadn't happened the way I thought it had. I convinced myself I was misunderstanding. I convinced myself that maybe I had overreacted. That's what trauma does. It wraps itself in confusion. It makes you question your own reality. That confusion is exactly what people who cause harm depend on. It's their insurance policy against being discovered.
When I was 13, James came to the guest room. Then Aaron, then Tyler. By the time I was 14, all 4 of them had isolated me with violations I couldn't name. Not once, repeatedly, over and over, dozens of times. They had a system. They would communicate about when I'd be at Aunt Lisa's house. They would take turns, sometimes 2 at a time. Sometimes they would just watch while another one did it. Sometimes they would use cameras to record what was happening. There was no spontaneity. There was no loss of control. There was only calculation and planning. Everything was thought through in advance. Every detail had been discussed beforehand. Aunt Lisa was there the entire time. She knew. She didn't just know, she made it happen. She would tell me to go to certain rooms. She would stand outside and make sure I didn't try to leave. She facilitated it all. She was complicit in ways that went beyond just knowing. She was an architect of the system. She was the one who understood the real opportunity here wasn't just about what was happening to me. It was about what could be sold to strangers. It was about what could be monetized. It was about building a business model on my suffering. One day, when I was 13, Ricky brought a professional camera into the room. Not a phone. A professional camera with lighting equipment, with a tripod. It was set up in advance. This wasn't improvised. This wasn't a moment of weakness or poor judgment. This was planned. This was calculated. This was evil conceived and executed with forethought. I didn't understand what it was for at first. I didn't want to understand. When Aunt Lisa showed me that notification on my 14th birthday, I finally understood what was happening. She had been keeping records. She had been building a ledger. She had been profiting from the family's hidden truths. The notification showed money, real money, earnings from secrets being sold to strangers on the internet. My Aunt Lisa had created multiple accounts under different names. She had spreadsheets, actual spreadsheets where she tracked earnings. She categorized them by date, by performer, by content type. She called it the Princess Fund, as if she was saving money for my future. As if any of this was for my benefit. As if I should be grateful. She made thousands of dollars from keeping records of family betrayals. Thousands of dollars that came from people willing to pay to watch a child's world collapse. And when she showed me that first notification on the day I turned 14, she genuinely seemed to think I would be grateful. She thought I would understand that this was family providing for family, that this was love, that this was her looking out for my financial future. That's the gaslighting that happens when you're trapped in a system built on lies. The perpetrators convince you that they're actually helping you, that you're actually benefiting, that betrayal is something to thank them for. I need to explain something about how trauma works. When you're being violated by family members, when the person in charge of your safety is the one facilitating the violations, your brain does something to protect itself. It compartmentalizes. It creates separate boxes for reality so you can function. In one box, I had school and friends and homework and soccer practice. I was a straight-A student. I was popular. I was thriving. On the surface, I was fine. I was the girl everyone wanted to be friends with. I was the girl who had her life together. In another box, I had this other life that felt like it was happening to someone else. I would mentally step outside my body during these moments. I would watch from somewhere far away. I would float near the ceiling and observe the scene below me like it was happening to a stranger. It's a survival mechanism. My brain was trying to keep me alive by separating me from what was happening. It was trying to protect me by making me believe it wasn't actually happening to me. Even compartmentalized trauma has physical symptoms that can't be hidden or explained away. I started losing weight. I couldn't keep food down. I had constant stomach pain. I had headaches that would last for days. My mother noticed. She took me to a doctor. The doctor ran tests and found nothing physically wrong. Nothing that showed up on a scan or in blood work. My mother suggested I might be stressed about school. My father made a joke about teenage hormones. Nobody asked the right questions. Nobody pushed. People don't push when they don't want to know the answer. It's easier to believe there's nothing wrong than to believe something terrible is happening in your own family. It's easier to accept comfortable lies than to face uncomfortable truths. At school, I started wearing long sleeves even though it was summer in Colorado and it was 90 degrees outside. I wore turtlenecks. I wore scarves. The weight of unspoken pain has a physical presence. It shows up on your body as shadows that won't fade. My gym teacher, Mrs. Patterson, noticed during class. She saw the evidence of hidden suffering. She asked me what happened. I made up a story about falling off my bike. She didn't push immediately. Most adults don't. But Mrs. Patterson was different. She had been trained in recognizing the signs of unspoken pain. She knew what hiding looked like. She knew what shame looked like. She knew what fear looked like. She had seen it in other students before. She recognized it in me. She scheduled a private appointment with me after class. I remember being terrified. I remember sitting in her office. She had pictures of her own kids on her desk. She had made the space feel safe. She asked me directly, without judgment, if someone was hurting me in ways I couldn't talk about. She didn't ask if I was okay. She asked if someone was causing me pain. Those words, that specificity, that permission to name it. And I broke. I had been holding it together for years. I had been keeping it all compartmentalized. But something about her asking broke open whatever I had been holding closed. I told her about my uncles. I told her about Aunt Lisa. I told her about the secret records. I told her about the Princess Fund. I told her about my parents not believing me when I tried to tell them years before. I told her about the fear I felt every time I was supposed to go to Aunt Lisa's house. Mrs. Patterson immediately reported to the school counselor. The school counselor called Child Protective Services. That phone call changed everything. That was the moment the secret started to unravel. That was the moment my life was split into before and after. When Child Protective Services showed up at my parents' house, my mother was shocked. My father was angry. They didn't believe me. Even when the investigators explained what had been reported, they didn't believe me. My mother couldn't accept that her sister had done this. The denial was so strong that it seemed almost physical. My parents fought with each other about what to believe. My father wanted to protect the family name. My mother kept insisting I must be confused. They didn't take me to a hospital for examination. They hired a lawyer. Their lawyer advised them to distance themselves from the investigation. They told me not to talk about it. They told me I was causing problems. They made it seem like I was the one destroying the family. I remember my mother saying, "How could you do this to us? How could I?" As if I chose any of this. As if any of this was my fault. I was placed in foster care 2 days after Mrs. Patterson made the report. My mother cried. My father was furious. They made it clear that they blamed me for what was happening to our family. My foster family was kind. Her name was Dorothy. She was a woman in her 60s who had been fostering children for 20 years. She didn't ask a lot of questions about what had happened. She just provided safety and consistency and the first real meals I'd had in months where I didn't feel sick.
They were there to distance themselves from me, to make sure everyone knew that they disagreed with my testimony. Their presence was a statement. Their absence of support was louder than any words they could have said. The prosecutor was a woman named Angela Torres. She was fierce and protective, and she treated me like my testimony mattered. She made sure the jury understood that I was a child. She made sure they understood that children cannot agree to this. She made sure they understood that selling videos of harmful content involving a child is not a business venture, it's human trafficking. She made sure they understood that my Aunt Lisa wasn't a quirky entrepreneur, she was a criminal. She was a predator. The jury deliberated for 5 days. On the 5th day, they came back with guilty verdicts. Ricky was found guilty on 18 counts. James was found guilty on 16 counts. Aaron on 14 counts. Tyler on 12 counts. Aunt Lisa was found guilty on all counts, including human trafficking and money laundering. Uncle Raymond, Lisa's husband, was found guilty on several counts as well for knowing about it and allowing it to happen in his home. He claimed he didn't know, but the investigation found evidence that he had known. He had access to the same financial accounts. He had seen the cameras. He had made jokes about it. He was complicit. The sentencing was 4 months after the verdict. Ricky got 40 years in federal prison. James got 38 years. Aaron got 36 years. Tyler got 34 years. Aunt Lisa got 50 years without the possibility of parole. Uncle Raymond got 45 years. They would all likely die in prison. The judge, when she pronounced the sentences, looked at each of them and said, "You have committed crimes so heinous, so calculated, so cruel, that you have forfeited your place in civilized society. You have taken a child and exploited her for profit. You have destroyed her childhood. You have violated her body and her spirit. You deserve to spend the rest of your lives in prison, and I sincerely hope you do." My parents have never apologized to me. My father still claims I exaggerated. My mother still sometimes suggests that maybe I misunderstood what was happening. They never came to the trial except for that first day. They never attended therapy. They never tried to make sense of how their own family could have done this. They never tried to understand how they had failed me. They chose to protect their reputation over protecting their daughter. They chose to believe the comfort of denial over the truth of my experience. They chose wrongly, and I've had to accept that they may never understand what they did wrong. I don't have a relationship with my parents anymore. My sister Emma reached out to me when she turned 18. She wanted to know what happened. She wanted to understand why our family fell apart. She was angry at me for a long time because my parents blamed me, and she inherited that blame. But eventually, she came around. We talk occasionally. We're rebuilding something that's not quite a relationship, but it's not nothing either. She apologized for not believing me. She said she understands now. We're working on it, one conversation at a time. I'm 22 now. I have been in therapy for 8 years. I have severe trauma responses. I have triggers that take me back to those rooms instantly. A certain smell, a certain sound, a certain time of day. I have difficulty with trust. I have difficulty with physical affection. I have difficulty with male authority figures. I have nightmares most nights. I have gone through years of processing what my family did to me, what my Aunt Lisa sold me into, what my uncles took from me. I have had to rebuild my sense of safety and my sense of self from the ground up. I have had to learn how to trust again, even though trusting nearly killed me. I have had to learn how to love my body again, even though for so long my body felt like it belonged to other people. But I'm alive. I survived. And I'm using that survival to help other people. I work at a nonprofit organization that helps survivors of childhood harm. I counsel kids who are going through what I went through. I teach them that it's not their fault. I teach them that there are adults who will believe them. I teach them that they can survive this. I teach them that speaking up is not betrayal. Speaking up is courage. I teach them that their lives matter and they deserve to be safe. To anyone watching this who's in a situation like I was, I need you to hear me. What's happening to you is not your fault. You are not responsible for the choices adults make. You are not responsible for their greed or their sickness. Your body is yours. Your safety matters. Your life matters. There are people who will believe you. There are people who will help you. You can get out. You can survive. You can build a life on the other side of this. Please tell someone. Please find a Mrs. Patterson. Please find someone who will believe you and act on that belief. Please don't stay silent. To anyone watching who has a child in their life and you're noticing signs of harm, please push. Please ask the hard questions. Please report to the authorities. Please don't accept comfortable lies. Please choose your child over your family reputation. Please choose protection over denial, because your child's life depends on you being the adult who shows up. Your child's survival might depend on you being the one who asks the right question at the right time. To the survivors watching, I believe you. I believe you completely. I believe every word you're about to tell. I believe that what happened to you was not your fault. You were brave to survive. You're brave to heal. You're brave to tell your story. You matter. Your life has value. You deserve safety. You deserve love. You deserve a future where this doesn't define you, even though it will always be part of your story. My uncles are in federal prison. They will spend the rest of their lives there. They can never harm me again. They can never harm anyone else again. My Aunt Lisa will spend the rest of her life in prison without parole. She can never exploit another child. She can never monetize another person's trauma. That's the only justice I'll ever get, but it's something. It's more than a lot of survivors get. I want you to subscribe to The Only Witness because these stories need to be told. Because survivors need to know they're not alone. Because families like mine need to be exposed for what they are. Because silence allows this to continue and we can't be silent anymore. I want you to comment below and tell me if you believe survivors. Comment if this story moved you. Comment if you want to help. I want you to watch our next documentary, which is about a school principal who caused harm to over 100 children before he was caught. I want you to share this video with someone who needs to hear it. I want you to help us break the silence. I want you to be the Mrs. Patterson in someone's life. I want you to be the one who asks the right question. I want you to be the one who believes. This is Sarah Collins. This is my story. This is The Only Witness.